Hey, good morning, everybody. Ted Haggard here from St. James Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado. As you know, Gail and I have evolved from the from St. James Church, and now we're doing the house church ministry of St. James Church. We do it here at our house, and we have it's fun. Anywhere from 40 to 60 people come on Sunday mornings, and because we live across the street from a park, people can park all around that park and not park in front of any of our neighbors. And so it's not been a problem at all here in our community. And we meet here in our backyard when the weather is appropriate in the summertime. And so those are the chairs you see, some of the chairs you see stacked in the back. And of course, somebody's always in the hammock there behind me. Let's see how we can do that. There we go. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful meeting. And if any of you are in the Colorado Springs area, you're certainly welcome to join with us. All you do is just contact me about our address, or just come to Judge Lunt Park. It's right across the street, and you'll see people walking into the gate into our backyard. And you're certainly welcome to join us at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings, and Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we do our Bible study here. It's a much smaller group, and it's a discussion-oriented Bible study, and it's always very, very good. This last week, Gail and I had the privilege of going down to Tucson, Arizona, and meeting with a man and his wife. And the man had an affair with a woman in the church, and stopped that affair 22 years ago. And they cleaned that up. The woman and her family stayed in the church. They'd had a friendly relationship. A couple families knew about it, but they had decided it was under the blood, and the pastor had repented and the woman had repented. And so the woman's now married with 4 kids, happily married. And the pastor was just doing just fine. He's in his 60s now. And the brother of the woman found out about it and decided it needed to be made public. And so, of course, when they made it public, everybody acted as if it had just happened, and that 22 years ago, repentance didn't happen. Let's see, 22 years ago. Oh, gee whiz. Think of where you were 22 years ago. Let's see, this is 2000. It was the year 2000. It was when we thought Jesus was coming back on January 1st. And so, or some people did. And so that was a long time ago. There's been a lot of water under the bridge in your life and mine since 22 years ago. So anyway, we went down and spent the time with him because, of course, he's lost the church now. And some experts in restoration showed up and essentially did a really bad job, made it much worse than it would have been otherwise. And so we spent 3 days with them, and they're a wonderful, wonderful couple and really love the Lord. And so anyway, once again, the church models the fact that we don't believe in the forgiveness of sin, and we don't believe in healing, and we don't believe in restoration, and we don't believe the New Testament when we don't want to, and we so naturally switch into the Old Testament when we want to. And so anyway, it's a challenge for us. So let's begin in Luke 10 here this morning. That's where the Bible Highlights booklet says we need to be. And notice here, it says, one day an expert in religious law stood up. This is verse 25, Luke 10, New Living translation. Here it says, one day an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus by asking him the simple question, "Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus replied, "What does the law of Moses say? How do you read it?" And the man answered, "You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Right? Jesus told him, "Do this and you will live." And the man wanted to justify his action, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Because it says, "Love your neighbor." Now, let me give you, here it says, you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, all of your strength, and all of your mind. So all of your heart, that's your your spirit being. You love people with your spirit. You love people. It's natural to you. With your soul, that's your mind, your will, and your emotions. And so you take charge of your emotions. Some people say, well, I just do what I feel. Well, we shouldn't. We feel all kinds of things. And so right now, so many are protesting against the Roe v. Wade abortion ruling because the Supreme Court justices finally actually read the Constitution and realized that the Constitution does not talk about abortion. And so they turned it back over to the states. And the Constitution does say that if the federal Constitution doesn't address something, then it needs to be determined by the states. And so they actually read the Constitution, sent it back to the states, and the women that enjoy killing babies are just going crazy, and that's their emotion. They haven't read the decision. They haven't thought about whether it should be in the states, because now state elections mean something. We'd just about reached the point where the federal government had taken over so much that state elections meant nothing. It's kind of like the federal government and the states taking over the schools so much that the school board doesn't hardly mean anything. And so it just keeps ratcheting up the food chain, and we need to stop that. And the Constitution is very, very clear about that. And now we have a Supreme Court that actually reads the Constitution, and our president is calling that radical, out of control Supreme Court. And it's because he desires to politicize the Supreme Court rather than let the Supreme Court be a reflection of the Constitution. And it's true, some scholars are crying about the point that we are held hostage to a document written over 200 years ago. Well, that's true. We are a constitutional republic, and those scholars need to cool off a little bit and realize that the fellows who wrote that are much more brilliant than they are. And so when it says all your soul, that means you love according to your mind. Your will, you will to love your emotions. And so by the way, we decide who we love and who we hate. We decide which ideas we love and which we hate. And so I hate communism. Why do I hate communism? Because the idea of communism, that promotes equity. Everybody's equal. Everybody has the equal result. Communism promotes equity. Well, communism has done more to destroy prosperity and good living and happiness and kill people than any other ideology in the world. Combined with Marxism, it couldn't be worse. And so it sounds good in a university classroom, and young people that haven't lived very long think it sounds good, but it is not good. And so our mind, will, and emotions are very important. And you may say, well, I just can't control myself. I do what I feel. Well, the Bible says he restores our soul. And so he restores our mind. He restores our wills, and he restores our emotions. So we love the Lord with all of our heart, with all of our soul, all of our strength. That's the power that we have. So power is money. Power is influence. Power is any positive relationships that we have. Power is brute force. Power is the way we love God. And all of your mind. That's somewhat repetitive there, but it wanted to emphasize thoughts. And love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, now let's work on the word love. Love means to live for the good of the other. So if we are to love God with all of our heart, that means with all of the core of our being, all of our spiritual life, all of our essence, all of who we are for eternity, we live for God. With all of our soul, with all of our mind, with all of our will, and all of our emotions. So we will to be good. We will to reflect him. We will to be kind. We will to be giving. this couple that Gail and I met with this last week down in Tucson, Arizona, we know a pastor from up north, and he's semi-retired now, and they bought a healing place down in Tucson. And in that healing place, they let pastors who have been disappointed or being disciplined or have been thrown unjustly fired or whatever, they let them go there for free. And then they meet with them, sometimes up to a month. We just dipped into that for 3 days by the request of the pastor. And so it was our will before we ever got there. It was our decision before we got there to love that pastoral couple, actually both of those pastoral couples. In other words, to live for their good. During that time, we had nothing else to do. We didn't answer our phones unless it was a family member. We didn't go anywhere on our own. We didn't go out and spend some time reading around a lazy river or a pool. We didn't do anything like that. We had nothing to do but them. And see, I have nothing to do but God and my family and our believers meeting and our neighbors. See, you can see our neighbors' houses around here, and we love our neighbors. We have decided we make this neighborhood better by loving our neighbors. So on many issues, we mind our own business and we don't get entangled in some of the discussions. And on other things, we just make it a better neighborhood. We will to do that. And we've already decided we're going to make it safer here, and we're going to make it pleasant here, and we're not going to cause a problem here. All right. And all of our strength and love your neighbor as yourself. Right? Jesus told him, do this and you will live. The man walked away to justify his actions, saying, who is my neighbor? Okay. Then in the next illustration, he talks about this Good Samaritan. All right, let me read it for you real quick. We're just about out of time, but I'll read it for you real quick. Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. Now, let me tell you something. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho, it descended over 2,000 feet. Jericho's high up. Jerusalem is high up. Jericho is down low. For those of you, oh, by the way, we are going in September of 2003 to Israel, and you'll see all these places. If you want to go with us, let me know. And just contact me. And my contact information is at the bottom of the screen here for the next 30 seconds or so if you want to jot it down. And if you want to go with us, we're going to go for 10 days or 11 days to Israel and tour all these sites. But anyway, that road was a hazardous road. It was known for bandits being there. So for somebody to walk it alone means they're already either a social reject, or they're already foolish, or they're already ill-prepared and having to go for an emergency or something. There's something wrong with anybody being on this road alone. So already this person was judged. All right. They stripped him of his clothes. So the guy's there naked. They beat him up and left him half dead beside the road. Now, people that are like this would appear to be a dead body. Okay, by chance, a priest came along, but when he came to the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A priest wouldn't want to touch a dead body or be near it because he would be declared unclean and unable to serve. All right, so he was justified in that. There's a dead body laying there naked, and so he walks by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other way. So this guy at least checked him out. All right. And decided he didn't want to have anything to do with him. All right. Then a despised Samaritan. You know how despised the Samaritans were. Think of the people that you're most cautious of. All right. A despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds. Okay. So the Samaritan is the only one that has a legitimate reason to stay away from this Jewish guy who's been stripped naked, beaten up, and left for dead. All right. He soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. He was prepared. All right. Then he took the man on his own donkey. He had a donkey with him. He had some money and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins. So he had some money, telling him, take care of the man. He spent his own money. So at a personal cost to himself, he gave. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay the next time I'm here. He also had trust. All right. So the innkeeper trusted him. The innkeeper knew he would pay. The innkeeper let him bring this broken up, beaten up guy in. There was probably a disgraceful Jew. Now, which of these 3 would you say is the neighbor to the man who was attacked by the bandits? The man replied, the one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said, yes, now go and do the same. And this is the exhortation for all of us Christians. And so our exhortation is to love one another, live for one another's good. All right. That's why we at St. James Church, we at the Storehouse here, our home church, we give a portion of our money away every week. All right, to someone in need or to somebody we appreciate or somebody we want to just spread goodness to. All right, and we live for one another's good. So nobody in our group is going to go in need without us being responsive to it. And we're just determined to know one another. We know each other's kids. Actually, we just appointed a new deacons group, and one of the deacons is one of the little boys in the church. And he's one of the little boys because I saw him straightening the chairs after church last week. David Noblet, the man who puts this together and puts it online every week, is one of the deacons. He just makes things work. He makes people comfortable. He sees things. There have been times when our special needs son, Jonathan, has started to act up, and David responds to that. Or if the sound system doesn't work quite right, back when we had a facility-based church and David and I were there, David would be the first one there to try to get that fixed. All right, so he's just a natural deacon. He just naturally serves others, and that's his love language. He doesn't walk around giving everybody flowers and little flowery cards. I've never seen him do that kind of thing, except maybe to his wife. But he makes sure things are right. If there's something wrong somewhere, he fixes it many times before I even know about it. So anyway, that's how we love one another. Some people love, how do they do it? With gift giving. Other people love with acts of service. Other people love with quality time spent there, just presence. Other people love by physical touch, touching somebody on the shoulder and saying, I'm here with you. There's a book, 5 Love Languages, that talks about the 5 ways people love one another. It'd be a good book for you to get and read, so you know your own love language and know how to love others. Okay. Hey, listen, it's been great being with you this morning. Welcome to my backyard, and hope to see you again soon. Okay. God bless you.